thinking in terms of the programmed moral compass. Not that I've been thinking like a programmed moral compass, but I've been thinking about people's moral compass versus their political programming, as I am doing my best to be authentic to myself while also rejecting certain things because they, although are in alignment with certain ideas, I'd rather they not be, because I don't like the way they are happening, right? For instance, I've been going on about how I really feel at this point because of how badly we don't talk to each other and what is right and what is also humane, because if we're talking about the fallibility of human laws, the way we procedure and write up what qualifies for being in violation of being on someone's homeland. Because so much of this touches upon the idea of nation itself, and because we are dealing with irrational people that demonize the nation state, and they demonize the nation state because they want to demonize the process and procedure and the will to deport persons, which then nullifies any meaning to who qualifies as being part of the body of the nation. And America has certain ideas about its self-identity that are part of American mythology. It's American mythology. It's just like, it's appealing to the history of America, but it's treating it as a spiritual ethos by which it is appropriate to go about the business of the state. What are we doing? Right? Just because conservatives and Republicans don't like and have an argument that sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are not legal, constitutional, perhaps you could say not lawful, the difference between what's lawful and legal, and where it is respectively appropriate to frame the context as such. Because it creates this Gestapo-like manner in which we do the thing of deportation, right? We are criticizing the law enforcement tactics, right? We don't like the tactics. We don't like the application of the executive, even though all of it is within the law. And the president, the executive, the White House does not make the laws. That would make the president more akin, because he would also have to control the judicial. You go to Parliament, technically the Prime Minister controls the judicial and the legislature. Parliamentary systems do not have our separation of powers. So like, I'm anti the policy on sanctuary cities is ultimately what I'm at. it's just like, listen, the will of those people in those places is sanctuary. This, it's fine that you are willing to go by this idea of one place where the 10th Amendment doesn't matter, where there is federal supremacy. I suppose that makes sense because theoretically that kind of issue is a national security issue if you are obeying the law and looking at things in context to the meaning of all these people here in violation of the law. But you and I both know that if the problem is as real as we think that it is, which is this excuse about deliberately bringing an enemy into our borders, well then you need to start pressing charges on people that approved this fucking shit, right? Which will be the next round of he's a dictator, he's a king, he's a tyrant, etc., etc., etc. It'll be the next round of it, right? And I think we all know that this, even if it's partisan and it doesn't fucking solve the problem, we at least know that this president has the guts to, take it. He can take it. Right? He can take all the fucking mockery and just fucking, he'll rub it back in your fucking face or whatever. Right? The people that curate the media make sure that they got people that are not more intellectually adept than the president or other elected officials that are up there to ask the questions, right? Why are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? The reporter in whom Trump was responding to had no answer to that question. And the president knew that he didn't have an answer to that question. And that is why the press is only an illusion of freedom. You think we're going to get the right hard press from an InfoWars reporter that might be in there, especially knowing where they stand on Owen Schroyer? Eh? What was the point of that divide? Was Owen like, you couldn't have been more respectful, honorable, civil, friendly send-off? Alex used to look at Owen like the way Trump looked at Charlie Kirk. It's just like the son I never had, yada, yada, yada. Right? Because we all know there's a son I never had element to it. But, like anybody's son, they can often disappoint their fathers. Except when your father is literally the Don, there's consequences to failing the Don. Yeah. Maybe the Don killed Jimmy Hoffa. There I said it. Maybe, qualifier maybe. Speculative. Not to be taken as viable. Or to be taken as defamation, etc., etc. So it's me seeing this lack of moral compass as you've got these law humpers, right? The law. And I have also made arguments about what is the law, which is only something I really bring up in context to how somebody just wants something to not be done, and then the point is that there's a law about that kind of thing. Right? And of course, in this case, it's about a law that discriminates between someone who qualifies as a American or a United States person versus what is not a United States person, but a person here under other terms. And then whether those terms are violated terms or not. It's not a papers, please situation either, because, well, for one thing, everybody's got fucking papers. Hadn't you noticed? You need a driver. Nobody fucking revolts against the driver's license, and that's what typically is the most produced thing. So you've got papers, you've got a driver's license, you've got papers, you've got a social security card, you've got papers, you've got registration and insurance. So give me a fucking break. You don't give a fuck about that. You don't give a fuck about your own freedom. We've been in a papers, please society in that respect. And the worst thing that happens is that you pay a reasonable amount of money. It's an unreasonable charge because there's usually no victim. You know, like last time I was charged money, there was an actual issue. There was an incident. There was somebody who was harmed. And there was a legitimacy of I at foul, not even wanting to argue who was at foul, especially because it was all minor cosmetic, expensive, but cosmetic damage. Where is your fucking moral compass? You can't stop and say, because the other side obviously doesn't know the fucking law anyway. They just think that what ICE is doing is in violation. Unfortunately, here it is. Literally, Donald Trump is at the absolute fullest extent of which he can enforce immigration law. He is at maximum potential at the resource level that we are operating. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is something that has actually been here for much longer than you know. And we've always had something like it for a very long time. We naturally can talk about Operation Wetback. And we can naturally talk about comparison to... Oh, wait, I didn't want to make that left. To the narrative, right? You know, I mean, we've got the equivalency of concentration camps. They are being called under other terms than concentration camp. We can pretty plainly see this matter as a fact. But also, one can look at deeper circumstances, because we also know what they bothered to install in the concentration camps, both the way we have built them today in the United States and then. And the problem is, can you get the narrative out of your head? Right? How did we go from 6 million Jews were killed over a certain period of time, which the account of Jews in Europe didn't justify that number, right? How did we go from that to there being a massive nation-supporting population just 2 years after Victory Day? And all of a sudden, the whole world is saying, look at all these Jews that want their nation in Palestine. Let's give it to them. And where was the voice of the Palestinians? Why did they not matter during any period of time otherwise? Right? Certain people's taken advantage of and exploited, being forced to not live the way that is accommodating to their soul. And if there's a real problem, they obscure it. It's just like all this bloodshed in Palestine, and you just hear a random ass report about Hamas, and you don't even get a description of even what fucking Hamas did, and then it's just all fucking explosions and death, and looks like innocent people got fucking slaughtered to me. Nobody's fucking asking the right questions about that. And it's sick. And unfortunately, a voice like mine, this is the extent of which I can do a fucking thing about it. This is the extent of it here, is to fucking speak this way. To bring up these questions and to bring up a whole lot of things in context. It's ugly. I don't like it. I'm sick and tired. It's just like, Styx, Hex, and Hammer comes off as far too snotty to me at this point. Razor Fist is coming off very obnoxious to me, right? And I'm not going to run around and say that these are bad people. I think that if they were fucking looking at the situation and spending time thinking about the situation as I am looking at it and telling you, they would probably come to similar conclusions. But people like them, they are high on their own fucking supply. They've got a excellent fucking network of fucking people reflecting back to them only and everything that that they like to hear, including the bad side of the enemy's argument. They might want to hear something from somebody new in the middle, I suppose, or whatnot, but like, I don't know. It's bothersome to me, and there's just a better way to do it, because for the most part, you're ignoring people that are saying, listen, look, man, people are fighting, and look, the mass deportations, I doubt very much that just these mass deportations have any true criminal connection other than the issues of paying drug mules back, and the fact that those drug mules are going to be getting this money for the illegal nature of the thing and all this shit, right? But my point is that the Germans, as they were losing, were so dedicated to their system and their orders that even when the supply chains ran out and everybody was fucking starving, they couldn't just let them go. They could have just opened the gates and said, listen, guys, we're overrun. The food supply is ran out. If we hold you any longer, we're going to start starving you. You have a better chance if we let you go. But that didn't happen. Remember, the concentration camp system was in place for many, many, many years of peacetime before. Nobody was talking about the concentration camp stuff. Nationalists probably were just looking at it and like, that's fine, they're just being deported. Right? It probably, like you're also, because back then being a nationalist was also kind of part of, you see, I'm not a nationalist who on the global stage is pro-Zionist. Which also means that whether the, meaning that it's not that I'm against the state of Israel. It's just that I'm neither for or against it. I'm neither, just like I'm not like I love Japan, but I'm neither for nor against it. Those people have their own destiny to do, right? They have their own responsibility to be a strong, healthy, developing nation and all that shit. I told they have immigration issues with Koreans and Chinese anyway. So it's not like it's escapable. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people from China that want to fucking take Japan back for the emperor. That's kind of their attitude. It's like a for the emperor fucking ridiculous attitude. Because Chinese communism does kind of come off like we still want to treat the government the way we did when we were tyrannized, except we're going to tyrannize ourselves now, right? And that's America too. It's just like, listen here, George, you don't get to boss us around anymore. We're gonna get this guy who's your sixth cousin. Your sixth cousin gets to boss us around, not you. And that's because we're gonna pretend like we picked it. But you don't get to do it anymore. Ha ha to you who. And you don't get our money either, because we're gonna kill a few of your guys till you stop taking our money. We'll do business later. And so that's what happened. And now cousins of the king are the only people that run for president, and that's all fucking managed by the Society of Cincinnati. I don't know if they were around Cincinnati, Ohio. I don't know. The Ohio Territory was a thing. Maybe. I don't know. Depends on. I have to look up the history of the Society of Cincinnati, but Society of Cincinnati, they're the ones that picked the president, as I understand it. So yeah, so ICE needs to stop in the sanctuary states and the sanctuary cities. It needs to stop there, and all efforts need to focus towards changing those places. Having the right argument to persuade a judge that you are correct in the law. And making sure this is a big public debate because of how you're working to change those policies in the court, through the courts, because the other side needs to talk about how they want to change the law. They don't want to talk about changing the law. They only want to talk about changing the policy, which is why in the shallow political rhetoric, someone can say out of spite for the president, right? Which you heard that in the Antifa meetings, that they do X, Y, and Z things which end up hurting other American people out of spite for you. And that's not the true reason. That's the cover story, but that is the true lie that is being told by those running the cover operation, because Trump is there to give the Democrats permission to fuck things up, because Trump wants things fucked up. And so he wants to do things in a way that gives the Democrats an excuse to fuck things up. And it's always been this way. Trump just does it by actually standing up for the party position, right? He's just serving the Republican Party as the proxy idea of the American people in 2025, because they released a report from the polls that they chose to count on a day they called election. They could have chose to report it any which way. Anyway, there's a whole lot of things that are going to get a whole lot of people hot and bothered, right? I would not put it past this president to do things like indict Barack Obama on treason. It wouldn't shock me. I'd actually laugh my ass off, especially if within the charges involves birth certificate fraud. I'd love to see that come up again, because then we can not only try him for treason, we can also deport him. So we wouldn't even have to kill him. We'll give him his own little island like Napoleon. We can treat him like Napoleon. It'll be funny. We'll put him in exile. No cell phone service. He just has to live with Big Mike. That's it. You live on a desert island with Big Mike, and you get a food drop once a week, and Mike gets first pick. Anyway, all right, I'm going to head in and take care of things. But I want you guys to step outside of any charge you've put yourself under in the discourse. Separate. Give yourself some healthy separation from this political discourse. You'll thank me. All right, I'll see you later.